Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. I'm talking with Chris McMahon.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, one of the organizers of Catholics at the Shore. Now, this is an event that takes place annually. For me, this year, it's May the 7th to May the 9th at the Jersey Shore. And the whole concept is to allow Catholics an opportunity here to renew their spirit, to deepen their faith, to have a time of fellowship, and be inspired to use their faith to transform the culture. Chris, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm so glad to be here, Marcus. Thanks for being here. Thanks for shining a light on Catholics at the Shore. So we're just glad about everything. It's how could you be in a bad mood when you're at the Jersey Shore, even if there's a little rain outside, right?
So, yeah, tell us about the plan today. You were just sharing earlier. So the rain might put a damper on some things, but there's a lot of hope.
Yeah, I think we're hopeful. We have a Eucharistic procession, which is one of the big features of what happens here, and I think we'll get to squeeze that in, go through the city. It's funny. The first time we did it, I thought to myself, people are going to be upset. People are going to be angry. They're going to be in a hurry to be getting somewhere, and we're stopping traffic, which is something historically people don't love. And I remember last couple of years ago, I looked out of my corner of my eye, as thinking, I'm hoping everything's okay. And there's big trucks there, and I thought, oh, this guy's going to be mad. He has to make a delivery. Turns the truck off, gets out, gets down on the ground, and gets on his knees on the street. I thought, boy, was I wrong about the impact. You forget about what the impact, the witness of this conference, and things like how important it is for things like Eucharistic processions, because people forget. And I thank God we've started to bring these back in a big way.
Yeah, yeah. And a Eucharistic mysticism. I was talking with Jason Shanks, the now CEO,
Yes.
president CEO of the National Eucharistic Congress, and we've done a tremendous job over the past at least 50 years now, recatechizing the church. In
Yes.
that sense, the new evangelization is swinging well. But in terms of evangelizing for the sake of falling in love with Jesus, I believe that that's a new phase that the Holy Spirit's working in. And so things like this, a Eucharistic procession that prompts even someone as simple as a driver by the side of the road to stop and go, that's the Lord of the universe. That's powerful. So I want to ask you to speak to that something as simple as Catholics at the Shore is able to really transform lives because we get given an opportunity to connect with Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what happens for all of us are on a journey, right? And depending where we are in that journey, we just assume most people are either with us or they're against us. The reality is there's somewhere on that continuum. And oftentimes, when I went over the golf event we had earlier today, there was two or three guys that I know well that have never, are just new to this journey, and they're 61, 62, 63. I'm not sure I'm here. My kids thought it was funny when I said I was going to a Catholic conference. I said in 3 years, it'll sound like normal to them. You'll be going, there's so many great opportunities like this around the country, but we're hoping what's unique about Catholic to the Shore, we bring these kind of tier one speakers in that people want to meet because you see them on the radio, you see them on podcasts, you see them on Instagram, and then you feel just a connection to them and a warmth to them, but you've never really had a chance to interact with them. And when you meet them, and I think so many of these speakers, like so many of the beautiful consecrated religious that are here, and so many of the leaders, and even some of the lay speakers, just when you have a chance to kind of really be with them and understand really who they are and what they're all about. I think it even deepens that and brings you, and those people are really conduits that bring us closer to God and ultimately to fall in love with Jesus, as you said.
And what this also does is, in falling in love with Jesus, he compels us to then bring his love to our respective spheres of influence.
Absolutely. And that's why things like this are so important. All these little dots on the horizon, these beams of light, because I think that's what lets it shine. I keep thinking about JP2, and he said, be not afraid, cast the net wide, go out to deep waters. Those are all he's talking to me, and he's talking to you, as you know better than I. And I think we're always afraid we're going to get out there and be alone, and we're never alone because Christ is with us. But it's also reassuring when you come to an event like this. I saw 5 people in the parking lot that I am inspired to know as I walked in just now. Think about that. The people that are these national leaders that I've always just known, and one of them just running these just incredible things in the pro-life movement and other parts of the church. It's just an exciting time to be kind of Catholic. It's as we talked about, and we'll talk about it more later today. It's cool to be Catholic again, which shouldn't matter. But that energy, we can take that momentum and really, I think, double our efforts and even create more of a tidal wave of folks falling back in love with Christ.
We're also amazingly blessed here in the United States of America, like you're mentioning, just people showing up in the parking lot doing amazing things for the life of the church in the nation.
Yes.
There are a lot of other nations that aren't as blessed. And so talk about just how blessed we are, why we ought to appreciate that blessing.
Well, I think it's part of our spirit of our country. I think what's interesting is there's always been a spirit of entrepreneurialism, right, in the world. Now, it was a little misguided for a while because entrepreneurialism at one time meant make as much money as you can. which is certainly part of it. But there's also a bigger part of it is to grow consensus and to create momentum around ideas. What I've been encouraged over the last certainly 5 to 10 years is how many unbelievable Catholic entrepreneurs are out there doing various ministries, whatever they are, right? Molly and I are very involved in the pro-life ministry. But there's a million ministries out there that are critically important, feeding the homeless. So is that what he said? When you fed or clothed the poorest of me or the hungriest of me, that's when you were feeding me, right? So I think what we apply those standards was Americans, this kind of independence we have, right? This kind of entrepreneurialism, this kind of I do it, but don't tread on me attitude. Obviously, can get in a negative place sometimes. But when it's applied correctly to the faith, what ends up happening is you have all these different people that aren't waiting for approval, not waiting for permission. They're very collaborative. But look at this. I was talking about the hotel here. I mean, how many hotels you go to that have a Marian grotto in the front of them, right? It's an unusual thing. That shows you the person that bought and makes these hotels has a deep, deep faith and is sharing it with everyone who stays at this hotel. And I think if we all if we bring that into our working lives, our professional lives, the upside is incredible. And I do think you're right. It's unique to America.
So given that mission that you're carrying forward in CATS, both in terms of appreciating what we have here and also all the great people that we're connecting with, what are some of the key takeaways you're hoping for this weekend?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think for folks will say really have a better chance to evaluate whether it's an adoration or this procession or in Holy Mass or, through confession with these great priests that are with us down here. I think it's, first of all, say, first of all, just take a breath, right, and have say renewal and refreshment, as we said previously, but also to double down their efforts and say, if this is my last year on the planet, hopefully not, but if this is the last year till the next CATS, what can I do to move this ball forward? How maybe can I step out of my comfort zone, knowing that all these people are behind me, or at least beside me, which I think is even more important. And if they're beside me, what do I do? How can I work with others? And that's what we're seeing in the pro-life movement. Molly and I are very closely connected and work deeply with the Sisters of Life. Well, we started a maternity home in Pittsburgh, which is wonderful. And we were talking to the woman who has a maternity home in Philadelphia. And Marie, I think, is personally involved with 3 or 4 various abortion clinics closing. That's just one woman, one suburban woman who's transforming the world. And I think if we can, Molly and I can take that energy, and others can take that energy, and it's kind of pay it forward, I think is the expression. I think that nowhere is that more kind of apparent in opportunities like this, because the sum of us is so much more than the individuals, right? I mean, it might be a 10x when we bring us all together and see this energy and share this with each other. I think we'll be able to radically transform the landscape.
Numerous listeners listening right now would love to be a part of not just this event, but also that exhortation you just offered for finding camaraderie and to develop programs like this on their own. Say a word of exhortation to them.
Yeah, I think it's such a good thing. Why don't we start things? Because we're afraid of failure, right?
Yes.
And then, and I always laugh. If anybody's listening and says, I want to start something. Well, I started years ago a thing called Bromenum, where we'd get together after Mass. I called it a light name to make it lighthearted. We get downstairs and have a coffee after Mass. Well, this is in Pittsburgh. We had 42 guys last week talking about very serious things, very informal group. And I never said, what if it fails? Everything ultimately, I would say this to someone. When we started Mary's Place, a maternity home in Pittsburgh, people would say to me, why do you want to do that, number one? Well, it's very important to us. Well, how's it going to be sustainable? And I've come to the conclusion that when anybody says it has to be sustainable, they're a fraud and a charlatan, right? Because I don't care. My answer is I don't care if it's sustainable. If someone's listening and says, I want to start feeding the hungry, and then someone's going to say, well, I don't know if this is sustainable. It doesn't matter if it's sustainable. If you made one sandwich and hand it to one hungry person, it has been worth it. And that could transform the world. Because what ends up happening is, I noticed something. Everything ultimately closes no matter what it is. I think of the S&P 500, or the 500 companies were originally in it, I think it's something like 430 of them no longer exist. So the idea that somehow we can't create a ministry or take action because it has to be sustainable and stay here 75 years from now, I pray that it doesn't. It might, perhaps, right? But I know for the last 5 years, the folks coming to Catholics at the Shore, the women that have stayed at Mary's Place, the folks that have come to Bromenum, whatever it is, I hope that they've benefited from. I know I have. And that's the other thing we forget about, the fruits we have personally. When we do it, it fills us up with joy.
My guest has been Chris McMahon, and he is the founder and one of the organizers of Catholics at the Shore, this amazing conference that takes place at the Jersey Shore this year from May 7th and 9th, which we are blessed to be a part of. And the whole theme is Renew Your Spirit, Deepen Your Faith. And we're looking forward to being inspired, falling deeper in love with Jesus and transforming our culture. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.